everybody, and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about The Ultimates issue 21, written by Dennis Camp, with art by Perry Perez, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by Travis Lanham. Luke Cage and his Avengers project take to the streets of Atlanta this issue as the city erupts into all-out war. Luke leads his army of Avengers against the Maker's forces, and they are winning against them. This is our first good look at the team Luke has put together, which includes Luke himself, Wingspan, Singularity, who I believe is meant to be the ultimate version of Cloak, Nameless, who is very clearly Deadpool, although in a very nice touch, Camp has borrowed from the infamous first version of Deadpool from the Fox universe and made him a mute assassin. The final member of the team is Penance, the universe's Ghost Rider, who instead of riding a motorcycle or car or horse, rides a Cerberus, proclaiming that he will fill hell with the enemy's ranks or die trying. As Luke deals with the remaining Taskmaster forces, Atlanta falls to the Ultimates and becomes one of the many liberated cities across America. Camp is sure to slow things down a little bit here, if just but for a moment, to show that Luke knows the gravity of the situation and just finishing the fight here doesn't end the battle. So he and the Ultimates network get to work helping the people of Atlanta out of the rubble, treating the injured and making sure everyone feels and is safe. I really like how this issue is couched in this really cool concept of Luke Cage's personal Ultimates handbook, something that's given to new recruits so they know what they're fighting for and how to go about it. It's a book he's written that details how to deal with fascist regimes and how just to be a good hero and not make the same mistakes that can eventually lead to fascism. As Atlanta settles down, the Ultimates Network consolidate their captured territories, setting up a worker committee to take control of Maker-aligned corporations in these territories and put their facilities to service either the common people or the war effort. The group finds all sorts of things buried in the company files, from renewable energy plans buried since 1978 to changing how factories operate, modernizing everything and making it so that people work less, produce more, and live better lives. On top of helping the people, Luke's people also see to the captured soldiers and Council's people, having them answer for their crimes, with many undergoing trials while defectors are telepathically scanned to confirm if they are telling the truth. And if they are, they're allowed to rejoin the rebuild effort. This is the type of flavor text that builds out the world and gives us glimpses into it, and it's my favorite type. We learn lots over these last couple of pages, and it's been a running trend in Camp's Ultimates book. The world building he's been doing is fantastic, and getting us a glimpse at what the Maker has done to this world and how the Ultimates are going to undo it has been fantastic. As Luke sees that luxury high-rises in Atlanta are made available to the homeless and those in need, Emmanuel da Costa, the creepy blood boy-owning billionaire who answers to the Maker, complains to Emma Frost about the war against the Ultimates not going in their favor. Emmanuel is even mad that South America, the territories they also own, has also been fighting for their own independence against him. I wish we had gotten more of DaCosta, since what Camp and Hickman set him up with, being this weird Peter Thiel blood boy billionaire, is just so interesting. Just nothing was done with it though, which apart from a few appearances here and there and just hinting at, the blood boy stuff, the abuse of other mutant children and everything, nothing was ever really done with it. And like lots of things in this book, it feels like wasted potential that I understand was out of Camp and the other writers' hands because the book and the series was prematurely ended, so they probably had loads of stuff ready to go for DaCosta and all the different council members, but they just didn't have the time to get to it. And all of this stuff here with DaCosta feels just like that. To combat the Ultimates rampaging through the world, DaCosta wants to counter the positive message the Ultimates are putting out with their own brand of revolution, which comes in the form of his own super team. DaCosta tells Emma Frost that after spending billions on focus groups and consultants, he has put together a team the public will love, the Defenders. So I get why the name The Defenders was chosen. It was probably focus tested, and the word defend is, a good word. It's something that is positive. But I really think they missed a beat by not calling them the New Warriors and utilizing some of the stuff from that cancelled 2020 run that everyone got mad at, since they didn't realize the team was meant to be a corpo-focused run team in that book and was meant to be rage bait for people. That was the entire point of it, and people took that bait hook, line, and sinker. Now, a corpo-sponsored superhero team is nothing new, and neither is a story about a corpo-sponsored team fighting actual heroes. That's a story that's been done to death, and it's one I always love. I always love when they do that sort of stuff. And again, here, it's just wasted potential since, this whole thing with the Defenders, that's like an entire arc of the Ultimates unto itself, and it's all being condensed down into one issue because of timing. It sucks to see all of these ideas that you could tell Camp had and wanted to utilize and make bigger in his stories just not get the time of day. DaCosta meets with the team and introduces them to the public, knowing all the people want is superpowered violence and cool costumes, and he's 100% right. This whole book's meta has really been, about that, about people wanting just the superheroes punching each other and the blood and the violence. And it's something we've been seeing over in DC at the moment with DCKO. That's been doing it as well, where you try and do something more than just fighting and violence. People get mad, which is a shame. You should want the art that you consume to mean more than just action and violence. You should want that art to challenge you, challenge your opinions, and, make you think and everything. I think that's what you want. Of course, there is definitely room for just, knucklehead, violence is cool stuff, but, once in a while, it's always good to have some art that actually challenges you and actually makes you think. It's what helps you grow as a person. As the Defenders get off the ground, Luke meets with some of the prisoners of war he has captured. Listening to one guy calling the hero a traitor, Luke doesn't raise his voice or anything to the man, merely telling him that he is a danger to his fellow man, and until he isn't, he will be imprisoned. As the man rants about not getting due process, he's obliterated by the Defender Sam Guthrie, aka Ballistic, who purposely kills the prisoners in order to make it look like the Ultimates are executing POWs. As Ballistic begins to attack Wingspan and Luke, DaCosta's cameras capture the entire battle, quickly editing the footage to make it look like the Avengers are the aggressors. There's a really great kind of running gag thing throughout this issue where people confront Luke and think he's just some dude leading the charge, and then he reveals he's got super strength. Or earlier on in the issue, a Taskmaster flies up into the air and Luke just merely jumps after him and just catches the guy off guard, and that seems to be like a thing that's going with Luke, where people underestimate him and don't realize that, this guy's actually got super strength, he's invulnerable. And we see it again here where Sam charges at Luke thinking he's just going to bust right through him like every other person, and he just bounces off of Luke's impenetrable skin. People keep underestimating Luke, and I love that he keeps proving them wrong again and again. The rest of the Defenders join the fight, and like Luke's team at the beginning of the issue, we get a rundown on who they all are, beginning with Thora, the female Thor, who DaCosta's people falsified her backstory to get rid of her Red Skull and White Power affiliations, making it out she's like from some trailer park where her parents were addicted to drugs and she fought her way out of it to become some sort of blonde-haired, blue-eyed white savior everyone can like. Thora hits Luke with her own version of Mjolnir and its lightning as Penance fights Marvel Boy, the Sentai-themed being who the focus groups know will play well with the weeby youth. Nameless battles Proctor, leader of Captain Britain's Black Knight Brigade, who plays into the knight in shining armor role, quite literally. Proctor cuts Nameless's arms off as Singularity battles Decay's beautiful daughter, a character we actually saw before when the Ultimates fought Banner and his people in Heaven. Decay's gamma powers allow her to actually touch Singularity, something which Singularity did not expect at all. Okay, so at this point I want to point out that this is Camp just kind of going after anything and anyone in his way. His run on Ultimates and the Ultimate Universe in general is being brought to an abrupt end for no real reason, or at least no reason that's been given to us, and all of this feels very targeted at what the Ultimates is probably going to become going forward, being is that they've teased that rebirth thing, which is going to be the new Ultimates universe, and to me that makes it look like it's going to be a bit more corporate, easy to swallow heroes doing generic hero things. None of this stuff that Camp and what Hickman and what Peach Momoko and what Brian Hill and all those guys were doing in the Ultimates book, where it was superhero stuff, but it also had a message to it, especially, Camp's work here about fighting fascism and, things wrong with the government and all that sort of stuff. It was all really cool and interesting stuff that we don't usually get in comics, and, we saw it across all of these Ultimate books. Hell, we've already seen, what happens to some of these books with Ultimate Spider-Man ending really kind kind of out of jealousy. And of course, this is just my opinion, but come on, why would you end a book that is doing gangbusters in sales if not for some certain spider editors or, some people involved in the company being jealous that this other Spider-Man book is outdoing theirs and they want to cancel it because it was giving readers what they want. It wasn't feeding off of rage bait, which admittedly that's what the main Spider-Man book is actually doing. Camp getting to do this and going scorched earth is so fucking cool, and I'm 100% all for it. Despite the Defenders beginning to win, it doesn't last long, as the Ultimates have backup in the form of the Network, who aid the team with their own weapons and technology. Nameless, his arms finally grown back to adult size, decapitates Proctor, and thanks to Decay being depowered by a gamma dampener, Singularity is able to swallow up the villain, leaving her in the realm of eternal darkness. Luke meanwhile retrieves Thor's hammer, smashing her head in with it and killing the villain. Cerberus feasts on Marvel Boy's body as Luke proclaims that all power is for the people. I love it's not really a turn, but I just love that Luke's like, right, I'm sick of these people stepping all over us and now it's time to fight. We're not mincing our words here. We're going to kill these people and we're going to make them scared. We're going to make these fascists scared. And that's exactly what he's done here. We have Luke Cage, this guy who's, literally ripped the chains of his oppressors off, killing a white nationalist. I thought that was fucking amazing. That's so fucking cool. And if he gets to keep Mjolnir, that's so fucking cool too. I love the idea that he gets to keep this, I guess, classic Mjolnir. I'm not exactly how this works, but maybe it's something that imitates classic Mjolnir. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Probably technology or something. But it's a great callback to the great folk hero John Henry, whose own hammer beat back the machine meant to surpass and suppress him. Love everything that Camp has been doing with Luke Cage, and it's just a shame we're not going to see any more of this character because he's just so interesting. DaCosta meanwhile tries to salvage his losses, trying to come up with a way to spin this, but Emma grows bored of his failures, freezing him in place with her powers as she reveals to the Black King that she hates what he did to the children that she was tasked with caring for, especially his own son Roberto. Roberto arrives and Emma leaves him to burn Emmanuel to death, leaving Emma Frost to be the new leader of Hellfire Club. And in her first act as leader, Emma withdraws all their forces from North America and reinforces her South American forces, wanting the other council members to deal with the Ultimates while they deal with their own problems in their own continent. Again, this is some really cool third act twist stuff. Emma Frost seems to be someone who has a conscience and knows when the fight isn't worth it and she wants to actually help these children, even though she's kind of party to what Emmanuel was doing to them because she just kind of stood by for so long, when really she probably could have done this a lot sooner. Again, all of this stuff seems like it was part of a much larger story that got just whittled down until it fit into this one issue. If we'd seen this, if the book went on, we got to see more of Emmanuel and Emma's relationship, Emma's growing disdain for what he's doing and how, his excess is getting the better of him and she's just disgusted by that sort of stuff. But none of that was actually evident, and that's a real shame. That was stuff that we could have built out and probably seen a lot more of had the book continued, but alas, we're not going to see any more of that, which is a real shame. The Ultimates issue 21 was a damn fine Luke Cage focused issue that dived into the movement Cage has created in prison and how that became the basis for what the Ultimates Network and the Avengers project was in the Ultimate Universe, detailing how to enact his plans to free America from its fascist regime. Very timely message if you ask me. It's also a message of hope and optimism and doing what is right, and that's a message I can always get behind. Outside of that, the book really falters when it gets to the B-plots because they all feel very underutilized and underdeveloped and rushed, mainly because the book is coming to an abrupt end in a couple of issues. Had a lot of these stories, specifically the Emma Frost, Emmanuel DaCosta side of stuff, had a bit more time to grow, I think they could have been just absolute banger stories about consumerism and corporate overreach and everything like that. Stuff that this book has been doing very well, but it sucks that it's just getting hindered by the fact that this universe is coming to an end. I'm going to give this issue a 7.5 out of 10.